America, my name is Osei-Frimpong. I come to you at least once a week, and today I'm going to talk about Project 2025, and it's the document that's released by the Heritage Foundation, and it's organized to both embolden conservatives, and it's useful for Democrats because now they have a document that they could use to scare people into voting, because it turns out that if you elect Republicans, they're going to try to enact this plan. And I'll be honest, the plan's not great. It hollows out the administrative state, which means all the little aspects that secure rights for the people who don't have property already and don't come from stable families. It turns them into chum and food for the people who actually come from assets and have stable families and a stable culture. Right. So you read Project 2025, you'll hear a lot of talk about family first, family values, restoring the family. And it's great for those people who are clinging on to power, and they already have power stabilized. But it's not going to build power from the bottom up. It's a document, like when you hollow out the administrative state, that's the state that secures rights for the little people. Right? That's the part of the state that protects you from the market. That gets the jewels out of the little e-cigarettes out of junior high schools and stuff like that. That's the aspect that protects both you and your kids from market ravages, that keeps your job, right? So the administrative state is actually a good thing. We need it to secure rights. In the same way we need doctors in order to secure health. Like if you're blessed, if you happen to have, but if you already have, property and a stable family, the administrative state might also check your power in exploiting those people who are not similarly blessed. Right? So we need a bureaucracy. We need an administrator if we want to actually make sure that people have water. We need an EPA if we want to make sure people have drinking water. Now, if you have the quality of resources and infrastructure where you don't have to worry about your drinking water, you could use a hollowed out administrative state to hoard your tax dollars and make sure nobody else has drinking water, because you and your family are fine. You and your family are fine, right? So this wouldn't be that big of a deal if conservatives weren't so much better at family stuff than liberals, and families in general. Conservative parents are better at parenting than liberal parents, because at least conservative parents know that they have a job to do. Liberal parents don't know that they have a job to do, and then are surprised when it turns out that their kids are problematic, and then they make up a diagnosis and start pumping them full of drugs. Right? And it was all because you were a liberal parent and didn't take parenting seriously. At least conservative parents might have some bad content, but at least they know there's a job to be done. They know there's a job to be done. So I could do a whole show on how conservative parents are better than liberal parents. Both are bad, but conservative parents are better at the job. And the liberal idea of good parenting is good family policies, just guaranteeing everyone easy access to an abortion, which might be a matter of right, but is non-ideal. So if one side is saying we need to secure good families, and the other side is saying we secure good families by giving everyone an abortion, getting everyone equal access to an abortion or good access to an abortion, then, you got to choose your fighter. And you can't be surprised when people go to the center right in that case, because they think of families as more than just the ability to kill your babies. So you could have a left version of Project 2025, and I think it would rightly look something like Democracy Unchained by Richard Dean Winfield. This is a wonderful little book, and I think he just goes through it in rather systematic ways what a Project 2025 for the left would look like. And he anchors it around jobs, the idea that in order to participate in civil society, you need to be able to actively participate and produce for civil society. So everyone needs to be guaranteed a good job at $25. He says $20 an hour, but it was written a few years ago. I would go up to $25 an hour, maybe $30 an hour. Thrive at 30. And it would be a job doing things that we need done, but maybe the market doesn't handle. For example, we can get class sizes down to 2. I would be fine if class sizes got down to 2 for the people who needed it, and bigger for the people who don't. But for the people who need their class size to be 2, that's what they need. And we need to see, and they need to actually grow into and matriculate into functioning citizenship. So if they need a one-on-one teacher for the whole year, then that is what they need. And that's what we should secure them, if we're serious about democracy where everybody participates in rule, right? So I am a fan of jobs. I'm a fan of a work program that will secure everyone the quality of rights and services that they need, right? So you can't just give healthcare out to everyone, because healthcare is administered by so many different people, and those people, you need to make a case of why those people should minister to you, but you don't minister. You don't participate in a system that gets them anything. So I think that something like a federal job guarantee actually undermines and that argument that the people who are getting free healthcare are just takers, because under a federal job guarantee, everyone has is secured a good job that actually does stuff that improves the quality of civil society for everyone in civil society, right? Everyone participates, right? And you could say, well, these would just be make-work jobs. Well, that's what they said about the WPA jobs. And you know what? Those WPA jobs are still kicking. And those WPA jobs, those projects are still kicking. And now a lot of them need to be redone. And there's enough deferred maintenance in the American South, for example, that you could employ everyone who needs a job and wants a job for another 60 years. Now, arguably, we're letting new immigrants come in and doing that work for under the table for poor working conditions and all that, and that's a different discussion. But there's enough work to be done. There's enough good work to be done to make sure everyone has clean water and no potholes and all of that stuff, and deferred maintenance for people on the household maintenance for old people whose houses are falling around them. There's enough deferred maintenance in the at least American South for 60 years if we just want to put people to work at $30 an hour. All right, So someone said the biggest problem with parenting in America is the fact that both parents often need to work more than 40 hours a week to have a home that fits their family. That is true. That is true. And people, I think it's a holdover from a different generation. They thought that money would solve all their problems. Your kids need you. Nobody's going to raise your kid. Nobody's going to raise your kid better than you are in this world. So parents need to and both parents, not just both parents need to be able to spend time with their kids. And so we need to be honest about what a real working America looks like, that puts that takes family responsibilities seriously, and the infrastructure required for taking family responsibilities seriously, because there's this notion that you just needed more money to raise kids well. But, at least in my generation, I'm seeing people both a little bit older than I am and my age who try to throw money at problems that need more parental time, that actually need just parents sitting and working with their kid. And there is no real substitute for that. But we thought there was a substitute. Maybe when the problems were a little bit less sophisticated, we thought there was a substitute. We could throw money at it. But now, we need better parents who are actually parenting their kids more, and taking that as a serious part of their job. Yeah, if your parents are working too much, both parents are working too much, who's watching the kids? Well, who's watching the kids? The internet is, YouTube is, TikTok is, and they have designs on your kid's mind that might not be that may not be consonant with living a life of dignity And like your kid's not getting the ethical education that they may need, but they're getting a different kind of ethical education that's not particularly great. So I want to say a few things about this. I'm a huge fan of overscheduling your kids. I think you should overschedule your kids and be very suspicious about people who don't say that you should overschedule your kids. Overschedule your kids because schedule them within an inch of their life. And I think that is the best thing to do because all of the excess time is going to be filled in with junk and like junk food and junk everything. And then you'll surprise when you have a junky kid. So I think you should overschedule your kid and just understand that when you have a kid, the next 18 years are devoted to them and everything else you do is a hobby. Like overschedule your kid. And I want an infrastructure where overscheduling your kid doesn't mean you spend all your time in the car taking them from point A to point B to point thing. Like everything should be like a little bit more hyper-local. But the right takes good parenting more seriously than liberals do, at least. The left's a little bit more complicated, but the liberals don't even believe in parenting. They just kind of let their kids do what they enjoy, and then are surprised when their kids are wastrels, and then they make up a diagnosis. They have to send them to a bunch of therapists when they have to make up a diagnosis for why their screw-up kid is a screw-up. And it was because you didn't think you had to parent them, and now they have all these screwed-up entitlements. And now you're going to put them on a bunch of pills to make up for your poor parenting. So the right actually takes parenting seriously, even if the content is not great. The liberals don't even take parenting seriously, so that would be a problem. That would be so that's the soul of their problem. All right, so what a left Project 2025 will look like will be actually not hollowing out the administrative state like the Project 2025 does. It will actually be building in the quality of administrative state that builds families and programs from the bottom. So remember, Project 2025 wants to give the top 25% of families all of the resources and none of the checks to rule over the bottom 75% of families. A better Project 2025 that still puts family first is going to build power from poor and working class families and make them stable and thriving, right? For example, we could talk about child stipends. I think you should give $700 a month per child just for enrichment activities. We live in an artificial world, and artificial doesn't mean saccharine and bad. It just means made by people, and then it's made by people who then need money in order to keep doing the work that they're doing, right? So we need parents to have money in the way that they didn't before in order for their kids to participate in this artificial world, in this world that's made by people, and then now needs people who get paid to continue sustaining it. So if you want your kids to live in a meaningful world, if you want kids to be properly overscheduled, they need to you need to be able to pay for the AAU or the swimming clubs or the soccer clubs or the tennis clubs or the chess clubs. They need to be able to pay for all the enrichment activities to make it the case that your kids can compete with my kids. Because I'll tell you the truth. If your kid is just kind of hanging out this summer, they're not going to be able to compete with my kids. My kids come from a functional family from parents who know the job. So they're just not going to be able to compete. In 10 years' time, like my kids will just outpace your kids and all of the things. But I don't want that to be the case. I don't want my kids to rule over your kids. I want my kids to rule with your kids. But that means your kids need to level up from your laissez-faire parenting. And I'm willing to advocate for the quality of government policies that will put money in your pockets to put your kids in the quality of enrichment activities and set up the quality of enrichment infrastructure so that your kids can rule with my kids, lest my kids rule over your kids. Because if you don't take parenting seriously and families like mine do, then my kids just end up running your kids. And I don't want that to happen. That's not democracy. I don't like how much this guy is blaming parents and not the structure. Well, the structure creates a culture of parenting. The structure creates a culture of parenting, and I'm trying to create a better culture of parenting. I'm also trying to give parents $700 a month per kid for enrichment activities for their kids, because raising a kid costs enrichment money, right? So what I'm saying is a family first that actually builds lower class families, not a family first policy and slew of policies that starts from the top and will just consolidate power among the top 25, the top 25%, right? Consolidates power on the top 25% of families. So if your family already has assets, then hollowing out the administrative state is a good thing. If your family already has assets, property claims, and then it'll just allow even your worst cousin to be able to rule over their lessers because they come from a powerful family. And there won't be any administrative check to and there won't be an administrative check to keep them their wastrel nephew from just treating all of their wastrel nephew property manager from treating all of the rentees who will be black into like garbage. Don't rich people want water and air clean? Well, no, they just think about their own. And if they could if their own, they'll just move to a suburb or create a suburb where they are and get their own water treatment plant for their little suburb. And they don't care about other people having lead in their water. They just want water for them and the people who are related to them. Like that's how rich people think of families. I want all families, and I think this is how Democrats should think of families. I want all families to be empowered with clean water and clean air. Not just the ones who have or happen to be related to the ones who have. No, they don't want it to be cheaper. They want power. They will pay for power. People don't understand this bulldog building a new world. Rich people don't care about money as much as they care about the power that money buys. So that's why they'll pay for the segregated school. They'll pay for segregation. They'll pay for racial injustice as long as it gives them power over the poors. Maintaining power is expensive, but that's the only reason they want money. To have power over the people without money. It's not. So they would rather the poor be poor than everyone be rich. All right, so I'm trying to democratize power so that everyone can have the particular resources that they need and desire for their families. All right, this is why I want the stipend to be $700 a month per family. $700 per family. Yeah. Okay. So Lou gets this. Lou gets the right. Lou says in the comments, right? Got to create a thing they control absolutely and make everything revolve around that thing they created. That is like kind of the rich ethic, the wealthy ethic. That is the wealthy ethic. It's not about sharing power. It's about trying to get everyone to need what I got, because that way I can rule them with what I have. So Lou understands this. Shout out to Lou. All right. By the way, if you appreciate what I'm doing, go ahead and go to www.funkyacademic.com. Kick in $5, $15, $50 a month, and I'll keep doing what I'm doing at least once a week, probably twice. And you just have to know that the biggest problem with Project 25 isn't that the right articulates its vision wherein the top 20% of families rule over everybody else. It's that the left doesn't have an alternative that democratizes power through building families. Democratizing power is not necessarily individuals, because individuals are a product of families. it's really ridiculous that the liberals and the left have ceded families to, and family policy and family thought to the right, because you're not going to build power except from powerful families, and from and strong communities are strong networked families, and then strong communities build strong states, right? So it all starts on it all starts from building strong families, and the right understands that, and that's what most people are like spend their energy kind of dealing with, their family problems. So, you know, the left needs a family politics. By the way, yeah, T-Da. Yeah, you're right. I speak a lot about how liberals are bad parents. Liberals are just bad parents. They think children raise themselves. And then when their children don't raise themselves, or the internet raises their children, or the smartphone raises their children, and the children end up with all sorts of issues because of that, then they are quick to go to the pills and the diagnosis to explain away their bad parenting. But really, it was just bad parenting all the time. You didn't actually have a culture. You just assumed that money and nature would raise your kid, when nothing about this world is natural. And so your kid didn't really, have the skills to survive. All right, so we need to give parents money for enrichment activities for their kids. I think there's a number around $900, $700, $900 a month per child for the enrichment activities. The number is from the USDA report about pretty much how much middle-class parents spend on their kids when you take away daycare. It ends up being about that. So I just think that kids should not be punished for not having me as a parent. And if those kids are going to be able to compete against my kids, they're going to need a little bit of help. So I want the government to give them, $900 a month, so that those kids can compete with my kids. A lot of parents are just lazy. Yeah, a lot of parents are lazy, but like they also have confused ideas about what it means to be parenting. We don't have a culture. And then you have commercial culture, which has an incentive to make you lazy because they just want to sell you things. So you're letting commercial culture decide, tell you how to parent your kids. And commercial culture is trying to make your kids susceptible to their advertising. So they're telling you you don't have to parent your kids. And I'm telling you, no, you need to protect your kids from commercial culture and instill a quality of discipline that actually liberals are such bad parents. And like liberal feminists are the worst because they're feminists so nobody can tell them anything, but they're not completely like thoughtful. So they still think they know something about raising kids because they're women. And so it ends up like, I know so many liberal families where the husband wants to like stop their wife from screwing up their kids, but the wife is hell-bent on screwing up their kids because she's a feminist and nobody can tell her anything. And also, she's a woman, so she thinks she knows what's best for kids. And these people are even awful. They're awful with sons and daughters in different ways. And that's like not a small number of liberal families. So we need a Project 2025 that's family first from the left that secures people good jobs, clean water, lawyers. So I want to build out the administrative state so that everyone has access to a lawyer, because you can't live in a nation of laws and only have a circumscribed access to lawyers, because then the people with access to lawyers get to do whatever they want to you because you don't have access to lawyers. So if you live in a nation of laws, you need to secure everyone access to lawyers. So we need something like legal care for all. Right? So we need a liberal version, a left version of Project 2025, and not just poop on the right for actually having a plan and a vision for how they want the top 20% of families and like the family first. So they're going to support the people who already, the families and those related, the people who have and those related to them, ability to rule over and control everybody else, right? So the left needs a family politics to match the right politics. And whereas the right wants to build family politics from the top, from the families that already have both assets and culture, the left needs to both build assets and culture from the bottom, but still go through the families. Go through families as the building blocks. Families are the building blocks of communities. Communities are the networks of well put together families. And then states are the networks of well put together communities. We need to stop doing that and stop treating people as like abstracted from their families and instead embolden people through their families. But that takes, a quality of commitment to building an administrative state that secures everyone the right for their children to read. And that means if you don't know how to read as a family unit, if your parents don't know how to read very well, your children still have a right to learn how to read. And that's not going to come from you because you don't know how to read very well. So that's going to have to come from the school, but it's not going to come from a big class. So for those types of people with generational poverty, generational degradation, we need to talk about what it takes for to get those class sizes down to 1 or 2. Because for the people who need a class size down to 1 or 2, that's what they need. 1 or 2 professionals, and that's what we come. Someone said a UBI. I'm kind of against UBI because I think people should work. But I think we should pay people a lot for doing jobs that we currently don't pay people a lot to do. So I'm against UBI. I'm for a child stipend, but that's different because we need a serious jobs program. We need guaranteed union membership. We need actually to build working families that can then become working communities. And so whereas Project 2025 wants to hollow out the administrative state and hollow out and just make it for the people who already have so that they continue winning and then can consolidate power, I want to build power and build working families from the bottom. All right. Thank you for your time. And I will talk to you either at the end of this week or next week about something completely different. Take care. Bye. Oh, if you appreciate what I'm doing, which you should, go over to www.funkyacademic.com, kick in $5, $15, $50 a month. And I will keep doing what I'm doing, but you really should. You really should, because I'm giving you a quality of wisdom that you don't get everywhere on these internet streets. And I'm trying to do it in plain English, or at least with a folksy charm that will allow your day to go through a little bit more meaningfully and not squander your life. All right? Take care, and I will talk to you at another time.